Hi, and welcome back to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio. My card today is for that crafty friend, or maybe it's for you. We're going to be using the Crafting Forever stamp set from Stampin' Up. These crafty images will create unique cards just like this one. I'm going to give you lots of tips about creating this card, including the use of the Stampin' Blends and placement of those images. If this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, I would love for you to subscribe. Click that subscribe button down below and click that bell icon that's right next to it. That will give you notifications of when I'm live here on YouTube, as well as when I upload a new video. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's card. Here's a close-up of the card we're going to be creating today. You might think that these are really difficult to cut out and adhere, but I've got lots of tips for you. We're going to be starting with a piece of Whisper White scrap cardstock. I'm going to be using a piece large enough to stamp that image multiple times, and you're going to see that there are all three pens on one image. That image comes from the stamp set Crafting Forever, and it's part of the annual catalog with Stampin' Up. Now, if you don't already have a Stampin' Up demonstrator and you're interested in receiving a complimentary copy of the annual catalog as well as the current occasions catalog, I would be more than happy to send them to you. Just leave me a comment below. Since I'll be using the Stampin' Blends, which are an alcohol-based marker, I'm going to be using Memento ink because it's water-based. It will ensure that there's no interaction between the two and cause any bleeding. You can see too that this is relative in size to the ink pad, so you can ink it this way if you're comfortable, or as a tip, turn it face up on your work surface and ink it this way. That'll allow you to travel to the edges of your ink pad. We all have a tendency of inking from the center, and there's ink all the way around. I'm going to stamp this once, making sure that I press to trace out all those details. And then I'm going to turn it face up, and I'm going to do that one more time. And then down here, we'll stamp the additional one. I'm going to color one of these in while I'm with you, because I already have a few done that I did ahead of the video, so you didn't have to watch me do them repetitively. But I'm going to do the green one, which is the one here with the leaves, and I'm going to be using the Granny Apple Green Stampin' Blends. You can purchase these individually, or they're available as a combination. There is no price reduction purchasing them in a combination, but it does give you both the light and the dark shade. I love that we can replace them individually when we need to. You're going to find that there's a line underneath the cap on both sides, which will designate the size of the tip. So this is the brush tip, and this is more the chiseled tip. And since this is a very small area, I'm going to go ahead and use the fine tip side. Since this is the lighter shade, I'm going to choose which areas I want to be lighter. I'm not going to do any blending with these. That's the great thing about them. Unlike a marker, you don't have to worry about the streaks that a marker leaves behind. These are going to be flawless coverage. I'm going to bring in a piece of small grid paper here to help protect my work surface from any bleeding through the back side of the cardstock. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to color this in. Again, there is no right or wrong way. I'm using them just like I would a marker. I'm going to switch over now to the dark Granny Apple Green, and this just gives me a little bit of density with a slightly darker shade. As I mentioned, I have these others colored before you joined me, and I'll go over those colors with you, but let's talk about doing some cutting. I'm going to use my scissors. There is no die for this, and I'm going to come right around here and just make this smaller. I'm going to come in with my scissors, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a white border all the way around that stamped line. It is not important to cut right on that color line. In fact, I discourage that. If you're like me and you don't cut perfectly straight, you can actually distort the image by cutting some of it off. Any white areas that are going to remain are going to be virtually invisible because we're mounting this on a piece of white cardstock. I have my Whisper White cardstock base here. It's 4 1/4 by 11. I scored it right before you joined me for the video, and I'll go ahead and I'll fold that in half. I'd like to use my bone folder to get a nice crisp crease on my card. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lay out the images that I have colored and cut. So this is the one that we've just done. And then I have another here in Balmy Blue, and we'll place that one here near the bottom. And I have another in Flirty Flamingo, and again, you'll see the light and the dark shades. I'm going to place that one at the top. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate these just to create a pattern. And you're going to find that I'm going to make some longer than others and some shorter than others just to give this a little bit of visual interest. I prefer to lay them out on my cardstock before I start adhering them. That's going to give me a good idea of where they're going to go. Once I have those laid out and I'm happy with their placement, I'm actually going to stamp the greeting next. Now I know they're not adhered yet, so I'm going to go back to my Memento ink, and I've chosen the greeting from that exact same stamp set that says do something creative today. I'll go ahead and now ink that up, and I'm going to stamp that over here to the left-hand side. The secret to adhering is using the silicone craft sheet. I absolutely love this product and I use it all the time in my stamp studio. Adhesive will not stick to it. Because of the silicone surface, it will just rub right off. This works really well with hot glue and liquid glue alike. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start up here at the top, and I'll take that Flamingo one and I'll flip that over. And you can see the bleeding from the back from the Stampin' Blends alcohol. I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive to the back side. And you're going to see I'm working just in small margins. If you prefer liquid glue that dries completely clear, by all means you can use that. And that first one's going to go up here near the top. And I'll just tack that in place. I'm going to work next on this one, and I'll do the exact same thing that I've done on the first one. But I'm going to vary the depth of these pens just for some visual interest. And then the blue one, this is Balmy Blue. And then we'll go back to the Flirty Flamingo. And I'm going to want this one even shorter yet, because again, I want to make sure we've got some visual interest here. And then over to the Granny Apple Green, and then one more Balmy Blue. Now, once you have them tacked down, I'm going to encourage you to turn them face down on your work surface on the silicone craft sheet. Then just rub them in place to burnish them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trim from the back side here to take away all those images that we don't need. I've got a pair of scissors I keep in my stamp studio that have a red ribbon on them. This indicates that I can use them on those sticky projects. It eliminates me from having to gunk up the good ones. So using that cardstock as a guide, I'm going to come right along the edge and I'm going to trim away the excess of any of those images that happens to hang over the side. This is the card we created together today, the one I created before you joined me. What colors would you make your pens? I would love to know. Jot them down in the comments section below. There you'll be able to find all the supplies that I've used. If you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up here on YouTube. That is a like. It makes them and I both very happy. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.